Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's story. In this episode, we witness the heartbreaking journey of Tuna, who silently leaves the farm after realizing Alex may have feelings for his old classmate, Mai. Faced with Alex's sister's harsh words and the fear of being a burden, Tuna decides to disappear with her child, determined to start a new life on her own. But Alex, realizing too late that he truly loves her, begins a desperate search that leads to an emotional confrontation. Will Tuna accept his words and return, or will her pain push her further away? Stay with us until the end to see how their paths unfold. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support means the world to us. The warm glow of lanterns filled the restaurant, casting golden light across polished tables. Alex, John, and Mai sat together, laughter rising as plates of steaming food were passed around. Mai had only recently returned, her voice alive with excitement as she recounted her years away. Her eyes sparkled, her presence pulling both men back into memories of school days that felt at once distant and familiar. John, always the one to stir mischief, chuckled as he reminded them of the time they had scraped coins together just to share one simple meal. "You two nearly wrestled me for that last dumpling," he teased, his grin stretching ear to ear. Alex smiled faintly, pouring himself a glass of water. He laughed along, but deep inside, unease gnawed at him. The farm, the responsibilities, the quiet expectations, they weighed heavily. And sitting here with Mai, hearing her voice slip effortlessly back into his world, he felt something unsettled. "I need help," Alex said suddenly, though his tone was light, almost casual. "The farm's growing bigger, and paperwork is piling up. Mai, would you consider working as my secretary?" John raised his brows, amused. Alex's words hung in the air like a spark ready to ignite. Mai's lips curved into a radiant smile, her voice soft but sure. "I'd be glad to." Before Alex could say more, John leaned forward, his voice carrying that half-serious, half-playful edge that always left people guessing. "Well, that makes sense. After all, Mai used to care quite a lot about you, Alex. Isn't that right?" The joke, though wrapped in humor, sliced through the moment. The air thickened. Alex's face hardened slightly as he waved the thought away. "Mai and I are just friends, that's all." His voice was steady, but his hands betrayed him, tightening slightly on the glass before he set it down. Mai lowered her gaze with a shy laugh, brushing the tension aside. Yet the truth lingered, unspoken but heavy. John, satisfied with his stir, poured himself another drink, leaving Alex to mask his emotions with a carefully practiced calm. The night stretched on with chatter and stories, yet beneath the surface, Alex's mind drifted elsewhere, toward the farm, toward the fragile threads of connection he feared were beginning to unravel. Meanwhile, at the farm, the atmosphere carried a very different weight. The sun had sunk low, painting the sky in hues of orange and crimson. Tuna moved quietly through the courtyard, her apron stained from the day's work. She had waited, hoping Alex might return early, that his presence might bring comfort after another long day. Instead, Alex's sister appeared, her sharp footsteps cutting through the quiet. The look in her eyes carried no warmth. "Tuna," she began, her voice firm, "we need to talk." Tuna froze, clutching the edge of her apron. Something in her heart already knew this would not be a gentle conversation. "My brother is a man of standing," the woman continued coldly. "He deserves someone who matches his position. You, with a child and no status, are not that person. Do you understand?" The words landed like blows, each one striking deeper than the last. Tuna lowered her head, her lips trembling, though she fought to keep composure. The truth of her station was undeniable. She had always known she wasn't part of Alex's world. Not really. The memory of Alex that morning, cooking porridge and setting it gently before her, flashed painfully in her mind. That kindness had felt like a fragile promise, but now, standing before his sister's disdain, it seemed only a fleeting illusion. "I understand," Tuna whispered, her voice breaking, though she forced herself to stand tall. Satisfied, Alex's sister turned and left, her presence fading, but leaving behind a silence heavier than any storm. Tuna sank slowly onto a wooden bench, pressing her forehead into her hands. Her heart ached with questions, with fears she couldn't silence. She thought of Alex dining with Mai that evening, of the laughter that might be shared there. The thought twisted her chest. Was Mai truly just a friend? Or was there something more? A connection she could never compete with? Through the window, the sky burned deeper red, as if mocking her pain. By nightfall, Tuna sat beside her child, her eyes swollen from tears she hadn't meant to shed. She stroked her child's hair, whispering softly, "It's just you and me." Alex's sister's words replayed endlessly. "You're not worthy." Every corner of the house whispered reminders that she didn't belong, that Alex's kindness had only trapped her in a cycle of guilt. She thought of how easily Mai fit into his life, how quickly old ties had rekindled. Her decision hardened. She couldn't stay here, not anymore. She wouldn't be the weight that dragged Alex down. She reached for paper, her hand trembling as she began to write. "Alex, thank you for everything. I can't trouble you anymore. Please don't look for me." Each word etched onto the page felt like tearing her own heart apart. She set the letter carefully on the table, placing beside it the phone he had given her. A final, silent farewell. With quiet hands, she gathered a few belongings, wrapped her child warmly, and stepped outside. The night air was sharp, the fields bathed in pale moonlight. She glanced back only once, the farm's silhouette standing like a distant dream she could no longer claim. Her steps were heavy, yet resolute. She had made her choice. The wind rustled through the fields, carrying away the faint trace of her departure. With each step, Tuna clutched her child closer, whispering promises of strength she wasn't sure she had, but knew she must find. Somewhere deep inside, pain burned bright, but so too did a fragile spark of resolve. She would find a new place, away from whispers of unworthiness, away from Alex's world where she could never belong. The night swallowed her figure, her shadow fading into the vast expanse, but her quiet determination remained, etched into every step, every tear, every whispered vow to carve out a new path, even if it meant leaving behind the man who had unknowingly captured her heart. Alex returned later, his steps quickening as he crossed the familiar courtyard. the silence unsettled him immediately. Something was off. Inside, the dim light revealed the note on the table. His eyes scanned the words, his breath catching as though the air had been torn from his chest. "Thank you. I can't trouble you anymore." "No," he whispered, clutching the paper, his hands trembling. His gaze darted around the empty room, desperate, panicked. He called her name, his voice breaking. "Tuna!" The sound echoed against the walls, but no answer came. He stumbled outside, racing across the yard, calling again into the night. His voice carried into the cold wind, but only silence answered him. With a lantern in hand, Alex began searching frantically through the fields, his light flickering like a fragile flame of hope. Each shadow, each rustle, teased him with the thought that he might find her there, but she was already gone, her figure swallowed by the distance. The farm that had once been full of warmth now felt unbearably empty, haunted by the absence of the woman and child who had quietly become his world. Still, Alex pressed forward, refusing to accept what his heart already knew, that Tuna had walked away, leaving only the letter as her goodbye. The cold night wind whipped across the fields as Alex stumbled forward, lantern swaying in his trembling hand. Every breath came shallow, uneven, as he called again into the emptiness. "Tuna, where are you?" His voice cracked, scattering into the vastness of the night. But only the rustle of grass and the mournful cry of a distant owl answered him. He pressed on, his boots sinking into the damp soil, heart pounding louder than the crunch of earth beneath his steps. In his hand, the letter felt like a cruel reminder of his silence, his inability to tell her what he truly felt before she left. In a small abandoned house at the edge of town, Tuna sat in the corner, her child wrapped securely in her arms. The flicker of a weak candle lit her face, shadows painting her features in quiet sorrow. She rocked her child gently, whispering words meant as comfort, but spoken as much for herself as for the little one. "We'll be okay. Mama's here. We'll find a way." Her eyes glistened, but her expression was resolute. The weight of her decision pressed heavy on her chest, but beneath it burned a determination. A mother's promise never to let her child feel the same rejection she had endured tonight. Back at the farm, John returned late from the restaurant with Mai. The night had grown quiet, yet Alex's voice still carried faintly in the distance. John froze, recognizing the desperation in that sound. He ran toward it, finding Alex in the fields, lantern light flickering against his pale, frantic face. "Alex, what happened?" John called, grabbing his arm. Alex turned, his eyes wild, thrusting the letter into John's hand. John read quickly, his brows furrowing deeper with every line. "She left," Alex whispered, his voice broken. "She took her child and left because of me." John looked at him, torn between scolding and sympathy. "Because of you? Alex, this isn't your fault." But Alex shook his head violently. "I should have told her. I should have said what was in my heart instead of hiding behind silence. I let her believe she was a burden, and now she's gone." John exhaled slowly, his mind racing. "Then we'll find her. We won't just let her disappear. Do you understand? You love her, don't you?" The word hung heavy in the air. Alex hesitated, but then, with a trembling voice, admitted the truth he had buried for too long. "Yes, I love her. I can't lose her." The next morning broke with a heavy fog rolling over the fields, the farm eerily still. Alex sat at the edge of the porch, exhausted from a sleepless night. In his hands, the crumpled letter remained, its words etched painfully into his memory. Mai approached cautiously, her steps soft on the wooden floor. "Alex," she began, her voice gentle. "John told me about Tuna leaving." Alex looked up, his eyes tired but burning with emotion. Mai sighed, kneeling beside him. "Do you realize how much she must have been hurting to walk away like that? She loves you, Alex. Anyone could see it. But she doesn't believe she belongs here. And maybe—" Mai hesitated, her voice low. "Maybe part of her thinks you belong with me." Alex stiffened. He turned sharply, his gaze steady on her. "Mai, you're my friend. Always have been, always will be. But my heart, it's with Tuna. It's always been her." The words were raw, unpolished, but they carried a truth that could no longer be hidden. Mai's lips curved into a bittersweet smile. "Then you'd better go after her, because if you wait too long, you might never get the chance to tell her yourself." Elsewhere, Tuna made her way through town, asking quietly for work wherever she could. She clutched her child, her steps heavy with both fatigue and determination. The innkeepers and shopkeepers shook their heads. There was little they could offer a woman with a child in tow. Still, she pressed on, whispering to her little one, "We'll find something, I promise." Her eyes caught sight of a small workshop at the corner of a narrow street. The scent of freshly cut wood drifted through the air. Hesitant yet hopeful, she stepped inside. The old craftsman looked up, his eyes narrowing as he studied her weary figure. "Looking for work?" he asked bluntly. Tuna nodded. "I can clean, cook, help with anything you need." The man grunted, then gestured to the back. "You can start by sweeping. If you're serious, we'll talk later about pay." Relief surged through her chest. She bowed deeply, whispering gratitude as she set her child in a safe corner and picked up a broom. The sound of straw against wood filled the shop, steady and determined, an echo of her resolve to rebuild a life, even if it meant starting from nothing. Days turned into a week. Alex searched tirelessly, asking villagers, combing through nearby towns, but each lead ended in silence. Every night, he returned to the farm with nothing but the weight of regret. John urged him not to give up. "If she's out there, Alex, she's waiting for a reason to believe she matters. And you're that reason. Don't let fear stop you now." Those words haunted Alex as he stared out over the fields, the moonlight silvering the horizon. He clenched his fists, determination igniting in his chest. The next morning, he saddled his horse and set out once more. This time, he swore he wouldn't return without her. In the workshop, Tuna grew accustomed to the rhythm of the days. She swept, scrubbed, and washed, her child nearby, often giggling at the curls of sawdust. The work was hard, but it was honest. It gave her a small measure of dignity, though her heart still ached whenever she thought of the farm, of Alex. One evening, as she tucked her child into a makeshift bed, she whispered softly, "We'll make a life here. Just the two of us. No one can tell us we're not worthy." But even as she said it, tears slipped silently down her cheeks. Because deep in her heart, She longed for the warmth of the man she had left behind. The paths of fate drew closer with each passing day. Alex, guided by fragments of information from villagers, pressed on relentlessly. His voice grew hoarse from asking, his body weary, but his heart unwavering. And Tuna, though resolute, found her thoughts drifting to him more often than she cared to admit. His quiet smile, his kindness, his unspoken care. Two souls, separated by fear and misunderstanding, moved unknowingly closer to a moment that could either heal or break them forever. One late afternoon, as golden light filtered through the workshop windows, Tuna heard a familiar voice outside, hoarse, desperate, but unmistakable. Tuna! Her hands froze on the broom. Her heart lurched violently in her chest. She turned toward the door, eyes wide, trembling with both hope and fear. The door creaked open, and there he stood, Alex, dirt-streaked, breathless, but eyes burning with determination. For a heartbeat, neither spoke. The air hung heavy, filled with everything left unsaid. Then Alex stepped forward, his voice breaking. "Don't leave me again. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care about the past, about status, about anything. I only care about you, about us. Please, come back with me." Tears welled in Tuna's eyes. She clutched her child tightly, her heart torn between the fear of being hurt again and the undeniable truth she had tried so hard to bury. Her lips parted, trembling. "Alex." The workshop fell silent, the world outside fading, as two lives stood at the edge of a choice that would define their future.